Meeting to order.
It's a line.
Mr. Isbell, will you please give us the invocation, sir?
Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we just thank you, Lord, for another blessed day that you've given us. And Father, we just pray right now for all of those in California, Lord. We continue the prayers for those in North Carolina and Tennessee, Father, that relief comes to each one of them. And Father, as we do the business of the county, Lord, may you guide our thoughts, guide our actions, guide our votes. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Yes, sir. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Recognition of the public. Mr. Kevin Baker.
Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road. I'd like to address the issue of the election office budget issues, $52,000 for extra employee costs. In the previous meeting, the chairman made a rhetorical question about how much is this costing us. I would argue that $52,000 may be because we have to drive back and forth to the other side of Gallatin. Whereas if the election machines are right up here, so I question, how could we be off $52,000, 18% of a budget? And we expect you all to be our fiscal watchdogs, and there just needs to be some accountability here. You can't just go off, hey, you know what, let's move election storage over to Acapulco so I can go to the beach. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Laura Baker.
Laura Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road. I don't get up here much, but I gotta say, since this is, and maybe I'm misunderstanding something, and if I am, I'm happy to hear about it. This committee meeting, and this is half you, half the highway department, but I was kind of surprised to see this item on here that, $512,000 and change was ordered, so you all approved $3 million. And I remember, basically getting lectured by this department here about how they are a constitutional officer or whatever, and you shouldn't have control over this. Well, you all, commission, proposed that the purchase orders have to be issued to the finance department. Nobody wanted to put that condition, well, I shouldn't say nobody, excuse me, I shouldn't generalize like that. But the condition was not put on the highway department, and here they're spending money before you even allocated it. This needs to be fixed. That's not their money, it's our money, taxpayer money, and they shouldn't go off spending it until it's properly allocated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rick Duffer.
Rick Duffer, 229 Chipaway Drive here in Gallatin. I'm here to speak to you tonight on a request to have a loan forgiven by the Westmoreland Quarterback Club. 14 years I've been serving as principal at Westmoreland High School. At the end of this year, I will have served Sumner County as an educator for 33 years. And when I went to Westmoreland, inherited a very good situation, very good. One of the situations that we had was a field house that was approaching 50 years of age. It had mold and it had mildew. I went through budget meetings with the director of schools at that time, which was Dale Phillips, and I asked 5 consecutive years, can we do something about this? Can we please do something about this? Can we please, please, please do something about this? And the same answer came, and I respect that answer. He said, we are not in a position to start building athletic facilities. And I said, do you have any suggestions? He said, we're going to start providing you with some capital money. And he said, if you'll save that capital money, you can generate $200,000 or so. We needed almost $1 million to build this facility. When we realized that we could take what the county was providing in capital to the tune of about $200,000, use that money along with money that was raised, we were able to come up with $600,000. And our thought was to continue to save money until we had enough money to pay for this thing. But what we realized is that inflation was growing faster than our saving account. So we took it upon ourselves to borrow money. Now, the school system can't borrow money. They can't use anything as collateral. So 10 people in our community joined with the quarterback club and said, we'll sign a note. It was for $300,000 and some change. They each went up and said, I'll be responsible for 1/10 or 10% of this. Some of the people, I didn't ask them to do this, and I wish they wouldn't have done it, but they did it. They did a home equity line of credit on their house to help pay for this. Had there been another way to pay for this field house, by all means, I would have taken that route. But as the principal of the school advocating for my students, my community, and my parents, we went forward and we built this field house. We have been paying on this, and it cuts into the budget tremendously. It has come to my attention that there's some money left from the sale of the hospital, and it's used from time to time in manners such as this. I realize that some of you have made, not excuses, but you've given reasons for not supporting this. You don't want to get on a slippery slope, and you don't want to start paying off debt for school support organizations. I totally get that. If money were available prior to building this, we would have not taken this route. I'm here respectfully asking for your help. Not asking for a tax increase on the people in Sumner County, but to take money that we have and help us pay off this debt. The people, they've secured the note. It's unsecured at the bank, so it's a higher interest rate. There's no collateral for it other than individual people. It's going to take us a while to pay this off if we don't get some help, and I would be remiss in my duties as principal if I didn't come here and make you aware of these things. I realize we're a very fortunate county in Westmoreland. They're very fortunate to be in this county. We're giving money out to schools, to students, and to athletic organizations, and I think we should. I think it's a great investment in our students. I respectfully ask if there's a way to use the money that is available through the sale of the hospital, through that fund, to help pay this debt. I request that of you. And I'll answer any questions that you may have, or I'll sit down and I'll be silent.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. To entertain a motion to approve the minutes, I will be abstaining from this because I was not here.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And one abstention, that's myself.
And another abstention.
Oh, two abstentions.
I'll make that 3.
No. Okay, so 3 abstentions. We're here to light.
Somebody's got a,
You can approve in form.
you can approve in form.
Yeah, I'll approve it for him. There we go. All right, so I'll be the guy. All right. I have no report other than to note that if you look to item 6A2 under new business, there is a budget, so this is budget amendment number 3 for the BOE. You should have a handout from Ms. Allison. That we'll enter that into the record. It's not on the record, but this is the handout. The separate handout is the right document to reference here, and please update our online records to reflect that. Other than that, Mr. Mayor?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wine.
Page 168 has the usual, it's the statement, just the memo telling the financial statements are available. They will be available on the 27th because of the timing of the month, and it's same Monday in the county commission. The next item is the revenue monitoring, and it's actually this sheet here, and it contains 3 pages, and it was passed out on your desk. The first one just shows how the budget was broken down between the different funds or how it was dispersed. The second one, if you go to the far right, shows what, if we reprojected the revenues today, what we believe they would bring in. There's really no huge concerns. There's a few to note. Right now, your hotel motel tax is about 90% of budget and about 89% of prior year. Not a huge revenue source, but it is below budget and it's unexpectedly below budget. The only other one to really note is your adequate facilities tax. It's about 86% of budget and about 63% of the prior year. The rest of your revenues are above budget. We expect in total to actually have a revenue surplus this year unless something changes. 192 note on your top one, we're showing 101.18% of current property tax. That accounts for what we reasonably believe on the appeals will be settled negatively, not the entire amount that shows negative. As we talked about last month, if you look on the following page, which is the property taxes summary assessment, they're showing a $3.9 million of appeals. They are still working on coming up with the actual dollar value of the amount of appeals. That's the total tax on the bill portion. So I came up with what I believe is a reasonable estimate, but no guarantee. Does anybody have any questions on the revenue?
I have a question. So what is the effect on the adequate facilities tax?
A lot of times, the adequate facilities tax, it has a far lead time, so a lot of that can be timing, and it does fluctuate way up and down. So I would look at more on a year or even a 2-year basis. Right now, we've all heard rumors of several things under construction, but there's several things under construction right now, but you got to think those adequate facilities taxes from quite a bit earlier. So unless the entire year was significantly below that and the next year started the same direction, I wouldn't be concerned with it.
Do they pay adequate facility tax when they apply to build or when they complete their build?
When they do the building permit.
When they do the permit?
Before they start construction. That was they pull their building permit, and then they gotta come from the city down to Marshall's office and get the adequate facilities tax, and then they get it at the same time when they get the permit for the county.
Thank you.
The next one is the transfers. The first one is a transfer for a payout for $868. The same thing as item B.
I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
Second.
I didn't make the motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, A and B.
Page 172 is the correct object codes. The state provides the chart of accounts by statute, and it doesn't always come in time. Which when we made the budget, we used the item, the line item that we've always used. They actually came up with a new item for the educational incentives. So it's basically just a bookkeeping transfer for 172 through 173. Item 2 under C on page 174 is just postage to do some mailing. There's any mailing money there. And then 175 is several transfers for the sheriff's department, but most of it's within the TOSHA grant or are from for regular part-time, for instance, the court officers, or from regular travel to SRO because we're just tracking items.
Do you need a motion on item C?
Yes, I was just want to see if we can
Motion
go
to
through
approve C, D, and E.
Okay. Second. Any discussion? All approved?
Aye.
And then the last one, we talked about item F, and I passed it out. At this point, my understanding is, and I think it's been through, I believe, GenOps at this point, is to actually not go any further with the TDEC grant. I believe the time for transfers or to do anything with this grant is past at this point. We have received $10,400.22, and I would ask for a vote, and actually, if you can, for the second, actually, Pat on the second, to actually send this on to county commission authorized to basically give back the grant, reimburse TDEC for their $10,000 at this point.
Okay.
Motion to approve that.
All right.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And then the other item on mine is the interbudgetaries, page 178, 179, and I went those and I did not see anything that really flagged me, but if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer what I can about them.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, Mr. Long, anything further?
Not until older new business.
Got it. Yeah, we're about to have a good bit of discussion on the budget. So FY 2026 budget, we have a proposed calendar on, it says 181, but I don't know that, yeah, there it is. It's actually on, I think, page 180. Do we need to approve this? Do we need to approve the calendar, or are there any issues with this?
Right now, you've tentatively approved it. Some of these days are not on the first Monday. Right now, what I would recommend is for the committee to study it and see if they have some alternative days, and we can start shifting it around and see what it looks like. There's two things that you could do if you start shifting days. One is The final date I'm showing there is June 23rd, and the commission's actually, that's the fourth Monday, the commission's actually the third Monday. June 30th is actually the fifth Monday if you want to make it June, so it actually would give you some leeway to request the commission to move to the fifth Monday. If you start looking through here, this is based on if you have the first and second presentation of the budget and the commission, and to meet for the 10-day publication requirement.
So, Mr. Long, I remember we spoke about this, and I think we have the chairman of the commission here. I think what we would need to do here, and I'm happy to send an email if it's necessary, just so we have it in writing. I think what I would request is to bump the full commission to the fifth Monday in June, if that is doable, in order to allow us to get both readings through.
I don't see any problem with that.
All right.
You put that.
I'll put it in an email.
Second item is the school's budget. If you look at, and this is the thing we've ran into, according to our private act, the school has a deadline of June 30th. If you go to the general law, a private act stands as long as the commission and the school board agree to it, otherwise it becomes May 1st. The problem you run into if we follow the June 1st deadline with the schools receiving the budget, that same statute also provides that June 1, that the budget committee is to vote June 1 or before on that same budget. So my thought process, Ryan, you may want to contact the schools, and because of the second June 1st deadline, you may want to discuss the possibility of leaving the deadline into the general law May 1st.
I would highly recommend that if it's for what it's worth.
And the only reason I say that, if you look into the same statute, it says on or before June 1, you'll vote on it. And this statute came after a private act, so that's why some of these button-ups against each other.
So
The statute basically says,
that
that you follow this time out unless you have a private act that's agreed to by the Board of Education and the Commission.
So, well, I'm just trying to back up the timeline here. So, June 1,
You got to vote on it.
we have to vote.
Or before.
So, when do we need, so let's back that off. When do we need to have the BOE?
If you don't have a separate agreement, then under that statute, 59402, it gives you a date of May 1st. And that's something you may want to discuss with the schools if May 1st is doable, or if you get an agreement for a later date, such as May 15th.
So on this note, and I don't know if we're going to talk about it, I know you and I have spoken about it, we are planning this year, because I know there was some discussion last year. Yeah, so I'm happy to have a discussion with the schools director here on this. I think these two things work in tandem, right? Because the idea is that we're going to basically give them a little more guidance than we gave early on last time, so it should be a little bit faster.
Based on the statute, and I've talked to Eric, I think you should make sure you're complying with that statute. And we'll go through that statute next, but if you read that statute per letter, yeah, I think you need to basically give them more guidance.
So here's what I'll do I don't know that we need a vote on this for the 5-1, right?
I think recommended right now would be probably for the budget chair to contact.
That's what I'm going to do.
To see if it's a workable situation for him, because really you just need it early enough before June 1st to allow you guys to vote on it.
I mean, if I could back it up mid-April, I could, but they will probably.
What does the general law provide?
Yeah.
You don't get an agreement by May 1.
Okay. All right.
And then they've got and to be fair, they've got a very large budget.
I know.
Several statutorily required steps they've got to provide too, so.
Okay, I mean, I don't know that we need to take any action on it, but I've got the ask here, and I'll speak with the schools director.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's move on to the next one, and I'll let you handle this, but I know you and I have talked about it, but this is probably the most, if everybody could just pay very close attention to this next item. I'm going to just give a little bit of background, right? So we got into a bit of a back and forth with the schools last year because of a change in assumptions on how much of the previous year's additional revenues the schools believed they could capture. In my opinion, individually, and the opinion later of the commission, it was, or at least this committee, the schools would basically be able to capture, in retrospect, we were budgeting the next forward year, so the 2024-2025 fiscal year, to account for additional revenues. some of the additional revenues, it was about $7.5 million that we had been able to capture through sales tax. The schools, the way they had interpreted this is that they would go back and capture that, and then they would get an additional $7.5 million. And so this caused a lot of back and forth, right? I mean, there was a $7.5 million gap. So, and look, I was bashing people earlier for not taking responsibility. My fault, right? Like, my fault. I'll take responsibility for it. So in order to fix this year, what we're going to do is give a more explicit forward-facing budget to the schools prior to their budgeting process. So, Mr. Long, I think I explained that in the high level, and I'll let you get into details.
If you look on page 182, and this is two things, and that's what me and Eric were talking about. One, you need to make sure you're following your statutory duties. And if you look on page 182, if you look at the first heading, it says county legislative bodies, powers and duties. If you go down to item D, it specifically says one of the duties of the county commission is to make revenue estimates and determine the level of revenue necessary to establish a budget for the operations of the school that is at least equal to the minimum budget required to comply with local match, the maintenance of efforts, which is the prior year, and the local match under TISA, which you had CTAS down here providing it to us, which you're significantly above at this point. I think right now we know what MOE is because it's last year. The only thing you would really need to confirm, and we can ask the director of school if he's got anything, what the match is in TISA, the new formula. Last year you were far above it. At that point, but what it says, it's your duty to provide these revenues. If you go on to the next statute, it works with that, it's 49.2203. And if you look on page number 188, it comes in, this is actually the duties and powers of basically the school board and director of schools. This particular statute says it will require the director of schools and the chairman of the board of education to prepare a budget on forms furnished by, it's not the important part, comes down to second sentence, the director of schools and the chairman of the local board of education shall provide a budget according to revenue estimates and revenue determination made by the county legislative body under the previous statute. So to make sure you're meeting your statutory requirement and to prevent any mix-ups, I would recommend that in the month of February we come back with revenue estimates, and in February or March, send it to the county commission to do a resolution to tell the schools what the revenue is as early as possible. The two things you have, February is more timely, March will be more accurate. So you got to decide do you want more accuracy, because you can't have both. You get more accuracy the more time we've got as far as data.
I mean, what's the difference? I mean, in both percent and
there's no way to tell, but we'll just have more information, and there'll be more. For instance, down in the assessor's office, I have more information on the country.
I mean, I mean, we've got to be able to have.
We can do it a while. I think probably your best thing is we try to do.
I would like to give them more. I would like to give them more time.
I'd like to give them more time.
I believe we do the best estimate in February, and then in March just reevaluate, and if it goes.
So if could you not go back, and nothing's set at that point, you could just go back and say.
But it's clearest if you just give them one estimate, I think. Yeah, it'd be the most clear, but the same thing is we can give them reasonable conservative estimates, so we do a reasonable conservative estimate, it comes in more. I've not seen many people complain about receiving more money.
Yeah, I would like to.
I'm sure somebody somewhere does, but we usually.
And you're still dealing with that May 1.
Right, it's still, and if you don't approve the additional date, you're still with May 1, that was in February, to May to kind of work that things out.
Since when did we come about thinking? I mean, where did this thinking come from that we could recapture revenue later in the year or get another estimate?
So what I'm saying is, if you estimate your revenue, say February, we have the tax rolls, but the assessor's office is still picking up more taxes and more information. So generally, the earlier you project your revenue, the more conservative you're going to want to be because you have more unknowns.
But in no way has to do with, we project X million amount of dollars, we get $12 million more, and they can
No.
get.
No,
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we come in and we do a really conservative estimate.
Sticking strictly to estimates.
Right, and you come in and we come in and say, hey, based on what we projected in February, things look much better than we were anticipating. you could potentially increase it. But the thing is, I say be super conservative because you don't want to go back and be trying to decrease.
I don't think, and I'm speaking as a former educator and director of schools who presented a balanced budget year after year after year based upon one estimated amount of revenue given to me. I would have loved to have had you as the finance director at that time. If I could get 2 or 3 estimates going upward.
Well, they're not necessarily going upward. The thing is, the lower you project the revenue, the higher the likelihood of meeting your projections. So the thing is, you've got, there's, somewhat statistical way to tell how close you're going to be. The only thing I'm saying is we will have more data in March than in February, but in February it'll be more timely. But either way, it'll be conservative estimates, because that's what we always run on.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what got us into a bit of a pickle last time.
But me speaking from somebody that works on budgets, I would prefer to have the conservative estimates earlier.
Mr. Wright, did you have anything further? Mr. Becker?
Yeah, they're not vague.
What would the process be if we give them a number in February, and then as we get closer to
We just updated.
May or whatever, we just tell them, hey, you've got X amount of dollars more than what we told you in February, and right, and they can just.
That's the idea.
Now, the thing is, look at the statute, and that's what every point out. The statute says shall, and it says legislative, so.
Do we need to approve this?
I think what we would do is we would approve the first estimate, then when we send it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna prepare an estimate.
I'm gonna prepare total
And then for next month, and then
countywide.
we'll approve to send it.
So
We did this, so we did this for, I mean, we did it for the schools as well, but we didn't do it this way. When we provided, last year and the year before, what we did was provide guidance, but we didn't provide, I don't know that we provided a hard revenue estimate to the schools last year. In fact, they called us on it, and I think they were right to call us on it at one point. So this year, we're gonna make sure to do it.
I think there was some confusion on it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. What matters, that we fix it going forward. So we're gonna give them a very good estimate, a very good conservative estimate. In February, we'll approve it. You'll prepare it this month, we'll approve it, and then we'll do an update in March.
Mr. Chairman, the reason it's more accurate is we've just got one more month.
One more month of actuals to look at. That's it.
And the assessors also take another month for pickups and stuff,
So,
changes
yeah.
down there.
And that's another month of actuals and expenses.
You got
what I thought.
another month of sales tax, medical facility, so.
It's still an estimate, but
It's closer to the end.
you got it.
And I like more data than,
Absolutely.
more data is better, but timeliness is what to be said.
I don't know that we need to take any more action on
We'll
this.
bring you back, or I'll bring you back an estimate in the month of February to start looking at.
Okay, I don't know that we have yet an item on this City of Gallatin.
I think this month we just sent some of the stuff over on the utilities, and we're still working on the water, and I think the mayor's in contact with them. I don't think nothing's happened.
Have we met our obligations here? We still haven't. Do we have a timeline on when that'll be? We don't have.
Going out.
We don't have a defined timeline. I'm still working, I believe, Dustin was still working on contracting and all of that.
They're working on the bid, and then they sent the interlocal agreement to the utilities this past week.
Are we talking about the storm drain?
Storm drain and the electrical.
Are you guys tracking that in?
Yeah. Finance has a new employee who's going to be tracking that, again, charts and those kinds of things.
All right.
Right now, we're just trying to
So
get.
we'll just leave, I just hate seeing something on there this long, but
How long
it needs
is
to
it,
stay.
I mean, it seems like forever.
It has been quite.
Didn't we do the mutual
It
agreement
was
like
here
a
before
year
you-
ago?
It was more than that. The problem is that
You just sent it over?
I just started asking about it, if it had been sent over, and we determined it hadn't been, so I had, I won't say Chris, but, Scott send it over to the utility district. My understanding, they didn't have a copy of it, so they're looking at it right now.
Of the storm drain?
No, the electrical. No, the electrical storm drain's going out for bid, but Gallatin's already working. We were hoping to bid it together, but when we received the project, it's already past that.
The storm drain was planned back in August.
Right. So we're right now, I think it's to the point where, and I'll ask tomorrow, we're right on the bid process, and then the interlocal agreement, from my understanding of it, the utility district, the electrical.
Mr. Chairman, irregardless of all of that, what, the update on the 907,000, say $1 million, where is that?
So the reason so there's a triggering event. So this is not slightly shy of $1 million that the city of Gallatin has committed itself to for a cost share for the efforts around the garage. So there are several triggering events that the county had to meet in order for us to collect on it. And one of those, we're really talking about two of them. One was a requirement to run electrical, I believe, underneath the road. And the second one was there were more than this. The second one was a storm drain in order to handle some of the runoff that changed because of the construction of the parking garage itself. We have not yet met that storm drain requirement. And so the city of Gallatin is hanging on to that until we complete it. That's why I asked about the status of the storm drain. Does that make sense, Mr. Hyde?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'm not sure I agree with it. You know, when you enter a partnership in anything, it should be an equal partnership. And I don't think this entire venture has been an equal one with the city of Gallatin.
This is the first I've heard of the storm drain being a trigger for that money to be contributed on the parking structure. Is that actually in the document?
I don't think so, but I think that's what the mayor was told, though.
Is this?
No, I mentioned it, that's basically what the mayor said.
I think
Is it in a document?
I don't think there's anything documented, no.
I mean, I'd like to make a motion that I know no one would appreciate going, but I'd like to see the budget chair, the general operations chair, the finance director, and the mayor go to the city council and present the entire picture of problem of what exists here, and get on the same page. What are you expecting? What are we expecting? I know what we're expecting. We're expecting our $1 million. What are they expecting? But we need to go and eyeball them and get them to tell us exactly what the status of this is. And I'm going to put that in the form of a motion.
I'll
Go to a city council meeting.
Mr. Warren, I thought you were about to make a comment on that.
I'll say we're moving forward that way, so I'll say we're getting ready to bid it, and we sent them a local agreement. That's my understanding what they're expecting. I think they've told the mayor that.
Well, they can tell us anything they want to, but I may not agree with it.
So, I mean, I'm fine to do this, just as a comment, but I mean, I guess my caveat question is, I don't like to pull a card unless I, have a stick behind it. What could we do to compel?
We could close the garage to judicial court patrons only and ticket people who park in there. I mean, if this was a partnership, now keep in mind, with the city and the county. Now, we've tried to live up to our end of the bargain, but I'm prepared to, carry the stick if we have to.
I think you relied on receiving these monies. I think that'd be more than an apt question. I think you could take action.
Mr. Chairman, this entire project has been based on hearsay and handshakes with absolutely zero. What they call the spider hole that's behind it. We were apparently supposed to pay for something down by the courthouse that was to go underground, and then Gallatin Electric said, well, we'll go ahead and pay for that if you guys do for this. That was news to us. The storm drain, we could not get the storm drain in prior to the water that they're putting in right now. And they haven't even started. They've only saw cut that street and done exploratory analysis. If for no other reason get it on paper, what both parties expect to receive and what both parties expect to do. This makes total sense.
I actually would, so I'm gonna make an amendment to this motion, which is to have our, oh, did I skip over?
No.
I was gonna say to have our county attorney draw up a proposal on paper for exactly that, so that we don't just go and.
I have no idea what the original inception was.
Well, we don't necessarily, I mean, we
So
can.
you want me to go meet the mayor?
No. Well,
Technically,
I mean, if that's what you're asking.
Amendment, because he can't make the motion. You would make the motion or whatever you want.
Well, he's
He's not on this committee.
well, that's true.
I think, Mr. Chairman, if I can, since I was the maker of the motion, we know what we want. I want $1 million. The question is, what is it? What is the reason you're not giving us $1 million? And that, they should be the one writing up something to us as this is what we need to happen before you get the $1 million. I may or may not agree with it, but I don't think we should go in there with bended knee. We should go in there and ask for the $1 million, and if you can't give it to us, for what reason? And let them tell us what the reason is.
So I'm not sure that I'm not sure you're actually able to make a motion.
Yeah, I didn't look it up. Ex officio members can make.
Okay, so we have a good, but can.
No, provided they have a right to know.
Okay, well, I mean, look, just out of respect for that, then I'll make the motion that you do this.
And I second.
All right.
So what exactly is the motion?
So my understanding, to make sure I have it right, Mr. Pride, is that the motion is, your original motion would be for myself, and, Mr. Klein.
Commissioner Mansfield is the chairman of the.
And Commissioner Mansfield, to go to,
Finance director.
and the finance director, all go in the minute.
And the mayor.
Okay. So all four to go to the city council, but we, here's the thing, can we compel them
I
to?
go all the time there.
So I've just got another question.
I have a comment.
Can we ask them to, I mean, if they don't have it on their agenda, and we can ask them to put it on the agenda.
But, can I?
Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
I love the idea of presenting to the council there, but before that, can we take a less public demanding step and just have a meeting? Because it may be something as simple as they just need to be asked why you're not paying.
Well, I've already done this.
You've done
I've
this,
done
and
this.
they just no answer.
No, the answer is, we don't want to pay until the storm drain gets fixed. That's the answer.
Well,
That's news.
So,
But that's not that in
Right, this table before, so it's not new, but it is, I mean, that's what the mayor said. So where we go from there, to entertain this.
Mr. Becker and then Ms. Klein. Mr. Becker.
I'm sorry about this, the storm damage, what is this? Drain?
It's a storm drain.
Like sewer, I don't know the background of that.
So
So are we gonna pay for that?
the background is that because the change to the topography of the street corner where the garage is on, it has caused, the water flow to change, and so the water flow is now running over a road.
Okay, so the county's going to pay for that?
Yes.
Okay, and then what I just heard is, if I understand what I just heard, is the city's gonna pay us the $907,000
Once it's
as
complete.
soon as we pay.
But again, well, yes, but I mean, to be fair, this has not been mentioned outside of a phone call between myself and, the Alpha mayor and the phone call between, our county mayor. And so, I mean, there is an argument here that this was Mr. Klein's point earlier, these are just kind of calls. I don't technically have any
Get that
authority.
line and be done with it. Like, it seems pretty easy.
Well, yeah, but here's,
If we're gonna pay for it, let's do
well,
it.
so we've already appropriated funding for it. It's underway.
It's under engineering and all of the hoops and checks.
It's underway.
So So the city just, they wanna wait for it to be complete until they pay us
Yeah.
$107. Okay. So whose word am I taking from that? Is that?
So,
It sounds like the mayor in a face-to-face or a telephone call or something has said they'll do that. But it sounds to me that if we can have that in writing, then.
I mean, and that is totally fine. You know, I can request it in writing, and we can go to the, I think that's the point of this motion, is to get this,
Yeah,
is to make
if they don't, if the attorney write up a MOU, simple,
well,
but they agree to it, then there's no reason to go to.
well, I mean, so there's two things going on here, just to be clear, right? I mean, one, I don't know that, and this is Mr. Hyde's point, I don't know that this body ever accepted that as a contingency, nor that is that written down anywhere, right? So like, it's one of these, well, we're just not gonna do it until this is done, and, well, now, you know, in 3 months that's complete, and now they want something else to be done. So there's an argument here that this contingency has no force and effect at all. And I think this is Mr. Hyde's point.
It sounds like to me that as a county governing body here, we do a very horrible job of creating MOUs or whatever, all these agreements. I mean, the whole 500,000 from the Brown, like it seems like we're just really horrible at that line of work. Anyway, just want to make that comment, but I think we're spending way too much time on it.
Mr. Klein?
I just want to correct a couple of things. I don't mean to go against what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, but what happened is that parking structure was originally supposed to be down below, and it got moved up to the corner it's at right now, and they forgot to design a storm drain. Because all parking structures and parking lots have to have the first inch of rainwater every time it rains filtered through a filter bank. That is underground, and that has to go into a storm drain system. So we discovered this about a year ago, maybe a little longer than a year ago. I think it was December, maybe November. And the engineer quickly designed it, and we got a price from Turner, and it was going to be about $600,000. We called up 3 different companies and got it down to around $125,000. They got the plans into plan check at the city of Gallatin around May, and they were finished around August. And so we couldn't have gotten this started before the water line was put in anyway. But the $908,000 is Gallatin's agreed upon contribution for the parking structure. The parking structure is finished and in use now. I don't know why we were allowed to get a certificate of occupancy without the storm drain, but we did. So the two have nothing to do with each other.
I understand.
And so we need to nail this down, and I think what the chairman is saying is absolutely true. And what you're saying is absolutely true. We never nail any of this stuff down. We need to nail it down now.
Is the storm drain fixed, or is it still a problem?
It's still the storm drain is not complete.
But the parking structure is in use.
Yeah, I get it.
Mr. Hyde?
You know,
Well, 1 second, Robert. Mr. Hyde?
the entire management of this courthouse has been a monument to incompetence. It really has. And it's time for us to stop just sitting around talking about it. We are owed $1 million, and the only way you're going to find the answer to all of these questions that are brought up is to go there and say, what do you want? We want $1 million. What do you want? When are we getting our $1 million? That's the only way. Just get a flat out answer there on the spot.
Ms. Boyd?
So, I don't want to stoke this conversation and take it too far off, but in a moment, we're going to get to the shared cost of the assessor's office, which Gallatin also has not paid us and owes us. which is, it's not the sewer line, but it's more money that Gallatin owes us and has not paid us.
For years.
So, well, let's not go down that.
$700,000. I'm just saying,
we're
there's
gonna
no
do that.
history here.
We can get to that one. Here's the thing, we can take a vote on this if we want. I'm happy to just go, but if we want to take a vote on it, all in favor of trying to get into the next, city council meeting with the caveat that they don't put it on the agenda, what force can we do to
There is
compel them?
something, at the end of, I don't know if it's their work session or their regular meeting, that I believe at the end, they have a section that anyone can speak off agenda, off topic.
Well, I will do my best to get on the agenda so that we're not waiting till the end and then we can all go. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I make one comment? I don't want to waste the time in this. So you go and you do this in front of the meeting, they're not going to be able to ask you questions, they're not going to be able to give you answers, and all you did is front load another meeting. So wouldn't the easiest thing to be is to try to have a sit down with the mayor, with the parties involved, and get something worked out, at least you know your answer, and then if you decide you want to cut loose with an official legal demand letter and go from there, we can.
We've already taken a vote on this, but.
Yeah, we've already taken a vote, and it's the right vote. My friend, Mr. Sidler, has given the lawyer's response, which is typical, but we've talked to the mayor, we've talked to other people, and I'm tired of talking.
All right. Thank you, sir. Correct, item number C, correction of the payroll holdback issue. Mr. Long, go ahead.
That's still with financial management, so we can add it back on.
All right, we'll leave that one. Request to purchase AEDs, this one was approved by Gen Ops, I entertain a motion to approve.
That one right now, we're actually buying AEDs with opioid money, a certain amount. That's what we're talking about right now. That probably just needs to be sent back to the opioid committee and let them look and see what we were buying versus the need.
Is there,
Can we just strike this?
before we do this, I don't want to be tying up purchasing of stuff that's actually needed in the committees. Is there any kind of critical shortage that we're?
No, right now, and that's where I've got my emails. Dustin's the one, their employee that works with the opioid committee. And I think he's actually sent an email to me and Mr. Mansfield. Right now, they've bought several of these AEDs with the opioid funds, and they're looking at FY '25 to see how much they can buy.
Okay.
So, not sure if we want to go down the tribal or the opioid. There's like two sets of funds. It was a request from Gen Ops.
All right, Ms. Boyd.
Um,
All right, we can entertain a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Boyd. Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
So with the tribal funds, I'd like this to get shorter. My understanding, and I just want to ask you, with the tribal funds, we could use them on anything.
As long as you're following certain rules, yes.
Certain rules. Is there something we could spend them on just so that some, operational cost?
We spend it on a lot of stuff, but right now, I think.
I mean, if we don't spend them on this, I just would like to see.
And there's no time limit on this. So,
There's no time.
So my point being is right now, before we buy the AEDs, it may be sent back to opioid committee and discuss how much they're gonna spend on the AEDs, and then we can send that number back to Gen Ops and see if we do need the additional AEDs from the tribal. Because right now, we need to make sure we're not double.
Motion to do exactly that.
So,
Send it back to, and I'm just gonna make,
Send it to opioid.
send it back to opioid. Opioid make a recommendation, Gen Ops approve the recommendation.
And then the two amounts come back together.
That's my motion.
we will either approve it in opioids on Thursday night or not approve it. We won't be sending it, we'll either up it or down it.
All right, that's my motion.
Of how much for the 25 years. And then you can send it back to Gen Ops.
So the motion is, we're not going to do, the motion is that we're not going to approve the tribal funds tonight. What we're going to do is kick this back, for the opioid, to allow the opioid subcommittee, to determine whether or not they can and will purchase these AEDs using opioid prevention funds. Then, given consent on that, the Gen Ops will reconsider it and approve post what the opioid committee.
And then it would come
right back here. That's my motion.
I second.
All right, motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, the item E, grant accountant.
That was one right now, they talked about Title VI during, I believe, legislative. That's something we're still evaluating too. So right now, I want to prefer to drop this item completely off the agenda and discuss it during next year's budget.
That's fine, I'd like to do that, let's do that. Without objection, we can drop this one. Okay, good, we will move this, and it will be struck until budget. Millersville Library, $646,469 from the general fund, for changing employee health and dental coverage. Yeah.
They originally asked for $87.19, they found about $2,000.
Do you have a motion?
I have a motion and a second.
Motion and a second, go ahead. Well, go ahead and explain it.
They found about $2,000 in the regular budget. Anytime there's a change in coverage, it's a smaller department can't find the funds, generally commission coverage it because they don't want to create a situation where you're trying to discriminate against people with family coverage at the same time. So it's for a change in coverage.
I just have a quick question, as far as where we're funding it out of, does this increase the MOE at the library?
Yes, it would. It's going to increase, but
Can we pay for it from anywhere else?
they transferred 2,000. They're saying they took the budget pretty tight.
Can we, there's nothing,
She says she stripped it tight. I mean, they were still pretty early in their year, so we went out. We could just put it under old business, and then, the thing is, we're not gonna not pay their insurance, so then, and that's what their original concern was, we do not go to pay insurance claims, we never have done that.
I wanna pay them, I just wanna,
So we can put it under, it may be a good thing to put it under old business and give her a couple
So
more.
we have a we need to do something with the motion, so we have a motion and a second. All right, withdraw a second, all right, so we can, is there any, I just wanna make sure, is there any scenario where individuals at the library lose their
No.
insurance?
We will pay that,
We can
we
leave that.
never.
All right, got it.
All
All right,
Can we note on the old business that we want to wait until May?
Give us no,
yeah,
May.
that's fine.
That way we don't have to talk about it.
Yep. Okay, election office.
And I put the email trail in here, I've had several emails from Miss Ashley. Currently, it was to do with the payment of advertisement that was required. She's made transfers that did cover that, but they're still, and it's included, but she's made the transfer $10,214. There is several over line items, and there's some discussion about the cuts in her budget from the committee, the commission, but went down through her particular items, and for instance, I believe it was around $277,000 some odd dollars, verify the exact amount, is attached here. That was, originally, it was $277,219 originally requested for election workers. The budget committee actually approved $280,000, and the actual cost is $332. So I don't think any action from the budget committee caused that particular shortfall. That's the large one in here. The rest of the items that was adjusted.
So wait, so they asked for 277?
Yeah, that's on the yellow sheet.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and we approved 280.
After they made a second presentation.
We approved 280, and then we ended up with 300.
Right.
An expenditure of, so an overage of $35,000.
So it was not, it was $52,000. It was $332,000 versus 280, $52,721 short.
Does she have this in her?
I mean, that's right now, there's line items that are positive, there's some part-time.
How much, I'm looking here.
It's on page 214 and 15, and I have a sheet here because there was some discussion of what the budget committee did decrease during.
We didn't decrease anything. What we did is we did not, just like we do with any budget.
Right.
We didn't give everything that was requested. So when people say decrease, we did not decrease their budget. So
But she was saying it was haphazardly not funded, but I'm looking, and the items we cut generally had notes on them. They were due with convenient,
yeah.
food centers, or the Union Street, and there's like a list of cuts for that.
Chairman, I would like to know from Financial Director how deep into this shortfall he's got. I mean, anybody can come up, give you a budget, you increase the budget, then they come back and they say we're $52,000 short. I think we have reason to really scrutinize some of this stuff, and I'm just wondering from the Financial Director how much scrutiny goes into these overages.
What do you mean? Well, these are the payments for election workers.
I realize that, and, you know,
So,
do they budget time for election workers? And how do they run that?
She came in with estimates for, her number of hours in election workers. I'm not really sure that would be more of a Miss Ashley question. I don't know, it could be a larger presidential turnout, it could be they put more machines, I don't really know.
here's the question I have. Sorry, is there anybody else? Cause I have, go ahead, Ms.
It'd be more of a question for Miss Ashley.
And this may be also, I don't believe she opened new precincts, correct? I think we have 29 and we had 29 before, but there's been a time we haven't. And did we increase early voting days? Because it felt like we did, but I'm not quite sure if we did. Is that what she's doing?
I believe this is, because I'm saying I believe it would be more advantageous for Miss Ashley to come.
yeah, so I don't tend to make motions here, but I'm gonna motion that we do nothing with this until unless we receive a presentation and a breakdown on the specific funds. That's my motion.
Second.
Do you have another one?
It's just, I mean, how long have they been waiting for this?
Has anybody been with that well? I don't know.
Right now, there was a payment for newspaper advertisement for a small vendor. She's made transfers, it's been paid. That one's been paid.
Is there anything,
Mom and pop, but I mean.
is there anybody who hasn't been paid?
No,
Okay, then I'm good with it.
I just wanna make sure we don't have some.
There's nobody that we have not paid.
and I will check that tomorrow to make sure.
All right, so assuming that, my motion stands. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, uncollected material receivable, other than the $1 million from Gallatin.
These are due with the reappraisal cost. Your reappraisal is completed now, so they would be due.
So is there anything to be done with this?
It's really up to you guys what action you want to take, if it's legal
These
action,
are
send it over to legislative maybe.
So this has happened. This has been going, so at the end of the day, this is a very similar problem to motion discussed.
Motion to discuss.
Second, all in favor? All right, I'm gonna make a comment, I'll make a real motion here. At the end of the day, this is the same problem that we have with the courthouse. Like, we can argue about this and make dollars and digits on a piece of paper all day long, but we either have a stick to compel this, or we don't. And if we do have a stick to compel this, then it doesn't come from this organization. It comes from legislative. So my motion is to kick this over to legislative in order to determine a method to proceed for each of these cities in order to collect. That's my motion.
Thing to note is Hendersonville and the other cities have paid.
What was that comment?
Hendersonville has paid theirs, and so the other cities not listed, so it's only the cities listed that hasn't paid.
Okay, so,
Gallatin, Portland, Goodlettsville. Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Becker was first.
Okay.
so related to the comment, I recall having the same discussion, I don't know, last year or 2 years, I don't know, but regardless. But at that point in time, Hendersonville was listed on here.
Yeah, they paid.
Paid up.
And so Hendersonville was actually paid.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them. What are these other cities? Are these other cities they're just still thinking they don't need to, or they just know that legally they don't have to?
It all resides down to somebody at MTAS made some comments about it, and they're refusing to pay. That's the best.
So what?
MTAS and CTAS have made different interpretations of how the cost breakdown of the assessment should be made. And I'll go as quickly as I can on this, just for the record, but here's the difference. Our assessor's office and the county, our interpretation, and CTAS's interpretation is that all activities within, and Mr. Mayor, you know this better than I do, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but all activities within an office can and should be counted as part of the reappraisal process, right? Because it's kind of a continuing process, and therefore the amount which is applied to the cities is a broad amount for the operations of that office. Impasse has said, no, what the cities owe is a much narrower amount, which is only for activities that can be directly attributed to a reappraisal. So strip out, certain overheads, strip out different things that we put into our calculation. There are different interpretations. C-test is one thing, impasse is another. These cities point up to impasse. I think we're right. We think we're right, but that's the reason that these things cross wires.
I think impasse was saying additional cost, but that's not what they.
So
how much, is it safe to assume that the amount listed here for Gallatin, which is, ballpark, 2, 6, like 750,000, something like that, that Hendersonville's at least that much?
It was more, yeah.
Hendersonville's was more, so Hendersonville's maybe in close to $1 million.
We could go back and
it was like 1.2, I think.
we could go back and
We could
look.
go back.
I can't recall off the top of my head.
So roughly 1 million or 1.2 million.
I think that was the number.
Is the difference between impasse and C-test, like?
Well, I mean, even
they
that.
owe some amount of money.
Even
they're arguing.
Yes,
what the
they're
calculation-
arguing about what they actually are obligated toward.
I believe you talked to the comptroller's office. and
I-
they knew.
Without getting into who told me what, I've thought higher, input, higher powers. And, one power said, well, if they don't pay you, sue them. And this came, I don't wanna throw something, this, and then, the other thing is last year the comptroller was working on this issue, and the legislators got lobbied, to drop it for a bit. But to be clear, they only have to pay us at the end of the cycle. So even though they've owed us for several years, that's okay, because they only have to pay us at the end of our cycle.
What's the cycle?
So now,
5 years.
it just,
I mean,
it's due now.
It's due now, it's finally due.
That was one of their arguments.
So, yeah, it wasn't due, that was one of their arguments.
But that
So it's
argument's
finally
gone
due.
now.
So, have you sent them a bill?
We could resend it again.
Let's do
They,
it.
Let's do that.
they all.
Motion to rescind the
Second.
bill. Motion and second.
And,
All in favor?
Interest.
Aye.
Just say that.
Any
For
opposed?
now.
Okay, motion carries. Any other, activity that we wanna do on this one? Okey-dokey. Moving on to new business here. These are Board of Education. This is no new money here, I don't believe.
It's definitely not new money.
Move it.
Yeah, move to approve 1, 2, 3, 4.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on these? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Sheriff's Office, these are both, grants. Mr. Becker, did you want to waive the second on that one?
Yes.
You have to take it again.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion, the second, with retaking the motion, with waiving the second? Second. All right, motion second, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries unanimously. We can waive the second reading, okay. Both items 1A and B are passed through, I believe these are passed through 100%, correct?
Motion.
We have a motion, waive the second reading,
Yep.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Two's passed through.
Okay, well, that was for both, was that for both A and B?
A and B.
That was
No,
both A.
two's passed through.
Okay, got it. Motion for the health department, 250,000, this is passed through, motion and waive, is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Number 3, you can look at it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 3, there was about $113,000 some odd dollars left from the sheriff's department project with ARPA. We have overfunding in the EMS because we're using locals, we're just asking to transfer it over to it to utilize those funds.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Penny Junoff's approval, okay, nonprofit donation, for the Westmoreland Quarterback Club, I'll entertain a motion to discuss. Motion. Okay, motion to discuss, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, 2 noes to discuss. Okay, I'm gonna get in queue on this one real quick, and I'm gonna have a motion for it. So I wasn't here when this was done before. I am not without, some sympathy here. But I also find that there was a comment, made by, Mr. Duffer earlier about, folks making comments, not wanting to get down a slippery slope, and I actually think that has a lot of merit. Nevertheless, I'm not without sympathy on this one. I don't know, I don't know that I necessarily want to do this, but I also don't know that I want to totally kill it. So I'm going to move. Here's my line of thought. I know that if we do this for Westmoreland, that other quarterback clubs are going to have the exact same response, and maybe other organizations as well. I mean, you start to kind of open the floodgates. So what I'm going to suggest here, and I'm not saying I'm going to necessarily be for it at this point, but I'm going to move to consider this and any other takers as part of the budgeting process for 2025, 2026. So that's my motion, not to strike it down, but to consider it more broadly as part of budget. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and second.
Question.
Go ahead.
I understand the slippery slope, but the slippery slope has twice fallen into the ocean. We have allocated first $15.8 million for every other high school except Westmoreland. And then we contributed another 5.4, and I understand that there's more yet, that they're over budget again. I don't understand how $274,000 from the hospital fund is probably losing money every day because of inflation. I just don't understand why this is a big problem for this commission. We have given a ton of money, and as I understand it, Gallatin High School is going to get their track, and Station Camp is going to get their track, and you know, we've torn down bleachers, and everything that's happening with these other high schools is going to be happening. And I watched a video where the school superintendent was in favor of this, or at least the demeanor of his voice sounded like he was in favor of the commission doing this. He was saying he cannot do this, but the commission can because they're a nonprofit organization. I would appeal to this committee that, you know, Westmoreland is treated like the freckle-faced, redhead child that nobody, you know, wants to claim that they own. And they're not asking for that much. I just, if somebody could explain to me why all these other high schools get millions and millions of dollars in infrastructure that I made the argument way back when we voted on it, all of it could have been repaired. None of it had to be destroyed, and it could have been done for a fraction of the cost. But we went ahead as a committee, or a commission, and we voted to spend all that money. And now all of a sudden Westmoreland says, please, can you help us with their debt? I mean, he's not demanding it, he's just asking. The school superintendent's in favor of it, apparently. I just don't understand why we're fighting this so much.
I mean, I can give you my rationale.
Okay.
And it has to do with, now this is what you just articulated is why I said I am not without sympathy and why I don't want to just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I also have some hesitation is that at the end of the day, there are good arguments on all sides of the athletic facilities debate here, right? But at the end of the day, what happened there is that the school said these facilities, which had been funded by private nonprofit organizations, we're just going to take that on. We are taking those on, and we are doing that. There was no transfer of debt obligation, nothing like that. This is a very different activity. So it's not an apples to apples. I understand that rings hollow for like the people who are, you know, if I'm at one school versus another school, and I'm like, hey, you know, they're getting stuff that looks like a Division IIA campus, and we're not. I understand that my distinguishment here sounds pedantic, but at the end of the day, it's not pedantic because it really does open up potential for floodgates. So I'm not ready to do this yet, but I do want to I am happy to consider it if everybody gets an equivalent shot. Mr. Becker.
Does anyone know, does each high school still get the $100,000 every year?
I think that, I don't know the amount, but I do believe that the high schools get a some amount.
Yeah, it was $200,000 originally, then moved to $100,000. But if you're okay without objection, can I ask someone in the crowd?
Sure. Well,
Motion to suspend the rules.
second, all in favor? Aye. Go ahead, Mr. Becker.
The answer to that is no. That capital money is not presented to each high school as it once was. When Dale Phillips was here, money was allocated and presented to us. It was never $200,000 to the best of my memory. There was $100,000, and then it dropped to $50,000, and then this past year, it's dwindling to almost nothing. So no money. And I asked that question of Dale Phillips. I think I know where you're going with this. If additional capital is allocated, can we use that to cover our debt? He said no. Once I had a conversation with Mr. Hyde, I was asking these questions as the former director of schools. He said no, the school system cannot ask money from the county commission and then use that money to pay private debt, which is what ours has become because private citizens, through the quarterback club, have encumbered themselves with this debt.
Why did the quarterback club is a nonprofit?
501c3, correct.
Why did private citizens have to take out the loan? Why didn't
They are private citizens who are members of the quarterback club. The bank doesn't care what organization you're affiliated with. They just said, if you're going to sign this for $30,000 or $35,000, there's got to be sufficient collateral to cover that. And each person was responsible for their own collateral. As a school support organization in and of itself, they cannot represent Westmoreland High School, ask for a loan that the school system is encumbered with. They can't do that.
So I'm on the soccer nonprofit at my son's high school. And, we took out a loan for $120,000 a few years ago. So is it just, I just didn't realize that individuals on the board were signing it? I didn't realize that, I guess I just didn't realize how it worked. But
if you signed for the $120,000, you were saying, I'll be responsible for this in some capacity.
I mean, I don't, to my knowledge, no individual signed it. It was the nonprofit. I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking, I
don't know who the base was. I don't know the agreement you had. I don't know any of those things. At the time, again, in conversation with Dale Phillips, he said we can get to this point, we can use the money that we have appropriated, but once we go forward and finish this project with the quarterback club, who's a 501c3, and individuals securing that note, it becomes a private debt that the school system cannot cover and then must be covered either by the county commission because they can contribute to a 501c3 and pay that off, but the school system cannot.
I would like.
Any other questions for Mr. Governor?
Not for me.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think going along with your motion, I would like to know, how many nonprofits, how much money just in total throughout the county, these high schools? How much?
Yeah, how much
That's
is
my
out there?
question.
Is the 274, is that everything in Westmoreland, or is there baseball or band, or, are there any more? It's 274 the total at Westmoreland. We got all these other houses. I would just like to know that, and I think I like your idea of let's see who else. Just because what this request gets the first in line I don't know if that means that I'm in favor of them, getting all the money, or not.
Yeah.
So
I'm not necessarily against it.
I know several years back, the county commission did this exact same thing throughout the county and forgave loans throughout the county. I think it was 2012.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to know what the amount is, right? Like if it's something we can bear or not, if it's the right thing to do. I'd just like to look at it comprehensively. Anything else on that
Well,
one?
I just, until we have all that other data,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in favor of approving
I'll get
this.
you, I've got Ms. Boyd, I'll get you. Ms. Boyd?
So that's exactly where I was thinking. There's a gentleman in my district, and he explained to me how he and his group had paid for the weight equipment at Station Camp and had been paying it off for over a decade and still had many years remaining. So along that same line is how many people are in this position and how do we find out? Do we run an ad in the paper? Or, where are we gonna find out? And are we only, let's just look at it, are we only saying high school? What about middle school soccer? I got somebody over at White House that's calling me about their kids' middle school soccer team, and they wanna know how to get in on this. And I'm like, let me get back to you. So, and there is no fire in the house, so this isn't something we have to make a decision on. I want to hear a lot more information, whether a decision has to be made or not, but parameters around it, how big will it grow, and then what are we looking at in the budget this year?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we need to look on the other side.
Just because he was waiting, I'm gonna get him, then we'll go under rules, and then I'll get you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to remind everybody about Liberty Creek. So a lot of these schools that have built these structures like field houses and extra facilities have done so over time, over the years with these types of projects. Liberty Creek got everything up front. So there's obviously a new way of doing high schools that everybody else needs to be made whole. And to your point, some of these other schools probably will come forward and not be brought up to the same standards. They've got a lot of projects going on right now to get to those standards. They're headed that way. But we've got a hospital fund that is being asked for this amount of money. That fund is like over $1 million. Some of these other projects, other debts could be done in the same hospital fund, and maybe they could be done in the budget. So right now we have a request.
I got it.
For one.
And I know Mr. Mansfield, you're here. I just want to make one comment here that, like, if we're here to talk about bringing everybody up to the standard of Liberty Creek, you're talking about tens and maybe hundreds of millions of dollars.
No, that's what they got.
Mr. Mansfield, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, that is what the director has already stated publicly. He's willing to bring all the other schools up to that standard. And it's going to be a tax increase. It's coming. So, I just want to remind most of you at this table, on this commission, that voted for $15.8 million for the quarterback clubs of each Hendersonville, Gallatin, Station Camp, Portland, to get that money, because they didn't want to pay for their athletic facilities anymore. That includes press boxes, bleachers, include bathrooms, training rooms, athletic facilities, field houses, tracks, press boxes for tracks, 1,000-foot stadium, site work, future site work for future tracks. Tomorrow night, the school board is approving almost $500,000 to build an indoor baseball facility for Hendersonville High School. They're doing that tomorrow night, $480,000. In November, it was $440,000. Now it's $480,000, probably be $500,000. The reason these talking about slippery slope, Commissioner Klein alluded to, you've already hit that slope at your bottom and it's gone straight down into Dante's Inferno with it. Because when you approve this money, you've already approved it. Those quarterback clubs aren't having to come back and ask for money because we've already given them money. It's almost $26 million now. Between what the school board's appropriated and what this county commission appropriated and what this county commission has given to the quarterback clubs, the booster clubs, they're not having to ask for money. Henderson, they're not raising money for their baseball facility because the school's going to give them $500,000 because county commission gave them $5.4 million. So I just find it I'm astounded with the rationale. I don't think it's rational at all. I think it's double-minded. I think it's hypocritical to say this year, all these clubs are going to come ask for money. All these clubs in October 2023, I sat up here, hundreds of kids saying, demanding they deserve this. Demanding they deserve this. Quarterback club, presidents, boosters, demanding their kids deserve this. It's exactly what happened. And we approved it. You didn't. I didn't. I didn't approve the $5.4 million. I made my text clear on that, I won't approve anymore. But this is making somebody whole who's not even asked. They asked for this money. You've been asking for 5 years, my understanding. I went to a football game on November the 8th, a playoff game. I say, man, your bleachers are nice. How'd you guys do this? I said, well, you mentioned it. County Commission gave us $500,000 10 years or so ago. That $500,000, they took it and built the bleachers themselves and did that all. The community built it themselves, and they took another $500,000. They took $500,000, $250,000, built their own bleachers. $250,000, they built a new it was concession stands, bathroom, visitor locker room, and everything else. But their other facility for their football team fallen down and uninhabitable. So they took $200,000 of capital money. They were given $50,000 one year, $100,000 one year, $30,000, $25,000 one year. They're giving Westmoreland. They use it for their lighting, for their auditorium. And they were able to save $200,000 of capital, $400,000 they did raise from the community, and $300,000 they financed. They're making interest payments are super high right now. So the point is, they haven't asked for anything. They got nothing. They're not asking for anything. This Mr. Dufford asked Del Phillips at one point, said, well, we'll see about it. He asked Mr. Langford at one point because chairman's commission. So, well, maybe the commission can help you out. That never happened. And so he had asked Del Phillips again and said, well, only the commission can do this. And I was asking this question. He reminded me of what the county commission did do. They gave $500,000, and that's how they got it. Very nice stuff. They're not asking for bleachers. They're not asking for baseball stadiums. They're not asking for anything. You know, but when you talk about quarterback clubs coming in, the quarterback clubs already did come in. And they've gotten almost $26 million. All the other schools, but Westmoreland. It's just a simple question. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me, but, you know, Beach is at $9.1 million. Press box, concessions, bathroom, training rooms, locker rooms, offices. HHS is at $8.4 million, plus the $500,000 they're going to be asking for tomorrow night. So we're at 8.9 for offices, locker rooms, home and visitor, training rooms, bathrooms, concessions. Well, guess who built all that crap before? Quarterback clubs, booster clubs. County taxpayers didn't do it, but we're doing it now. Portland High School, $2.6 million. Station Camp, $1 million. Estimate for just their track. And a new football field irrigation system they're going to bid on in January 2025 this month. Gallatin Track, $2.3 million. Press box, 1,000 seats track stadium. Normally, those booster clubs, quarterback clubs, are being paid for. The county's paying for it now. Maryland High Magnet School, $500,000 for tennis court estimates. So, the argument's not there. If you're going to say, I'm going to approve $15.8 million and $5.4 million, because the quarterback clubs are demanding it. And now the quarterback clubs don't have to pay anything. They get all new crap. It's all new. They're not having to take out any more loans. They're not doing any debt. It's just all done. We just wiped away their debt. We wiped away because we're giving them new facilities. They're just asking for $274,000. I asked for it to come out the color barn. These previous commissions are willing to give $250,000 to an old dilapidated horse barn we didn't even own. The school board is willing to take $3.5 million of COVID money to fix it up for kids, supposedly.
We got the point.
Okay.
We got the point. All right. Anything else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Matt, I was in the queue.
Oh, you're in the queue. Go ahead. Question. All right, get this question called. All right, we're back in order. All right.
I just got a question. I have a
Question's been called. Is there a second for that? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, call the question?
Aye.
No.
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 All right, there we go.
Okay.
Go. And now this is the last comment.
I just wanted to comment that quarterback clubs throughout the county are not, they still have debt. We didn't pay off their debt.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that was.
Yes, I know, and that was my comment.
Well, I mean, we didn't pay off their debt.
I know that we
I know
did.
some people are getting emotional about this, but like, they all still have debt, good or bad, or whatever. You can argue if they should or not. But this didn't erase, this 15.4, 26 million, whatever.
That's exactly right.
It did not erase any of their debt.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly why I made the comments I made. Any other?
I just want to make sure that, and it's not only quarterback club, it's there's football is
band clubs. I mean,
there's band, there's
we get it.
theater, there's
We get it. We get it.
That middle school saga, I love talking about that. That's
We have made lots of points on all directions here. I have a motion on the board.
Mr. Chair, go ahead. However, it does erase future debt, and that's important.
But that's a
on
different,
these items, correct.
yeah, but that's a different thing. That's a different thing. Future debt versus, I get the point, but one is, hey, I'm gonna pay off your previous debts, the other is, hey, I'm building nice stuff so you don't have to ask anything more. If you wanna make folks whole, then what, and I'm not asking for this, right? Like, I'm in the business of trying to moderate. But if you wanna make folks whole, then what would happen is that all of the different, Westmoreland or others would come to the schools director and say, hey, I want these facilities to be up to par with everybody else. That's an apples to apples comparison. Go ahead. Anything else on this?
Yeah, do we know, are there any other athletic or extracurricular activities at Westmoreland that have any debt?
I don't have any idea.
I can make an assumption that there's probably some debt somewhere.
Probably.
But it's not our decision to figure out which piece of the Westmoreland debt to give this money to.
So my motion still stands that we don't kill this, but it stays for consideration and be considered as part of next year's budget.
I've already seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
No.
One no. Okay. So motion carries. All right. Now, planning engineering, $10,000 for unassigned fund balance for debris. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't do this in the commission.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any other discussion on this one?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the 10,000, what will it go to?
This
It's
was
not the money, I just want to know what we're doing.
It's for debris removal around where the,
Where they took down that, like that shed?
not the shed, it was
It's flood debris.
from the,
It's more than that, though I know what you're gonna say, but the Draper House and the.
And I don't want a detail, just real, like, is it construction material or is it trees?
It's long-term organic material
Collection.
built up along the creek
Okay,
that has literally blocked off half of the full footprint of the creek, causing eddies and a lot of flooding that happens. And through a lot of effort by Commissioner Jones and our planning and engineering department, we were able to get TDOT to do, apparently, the miraculous in cleaning up the south side. They refused to clean up the north side. And so I did get a contractor out there. I said, can we do this for 10? And he said, yes, I believe I can do it for less.
so it was just construction material or
It's not only, that's what I'm saying.
it's collection that has accumulated from flooding month over month.
And I just want us to be a good neighbor.
Any other, did you have a question, Mr.
Yeah, didn't we talk about this?
This went to the full commission.
And got
It got voted down. It was I voted for it, I'm gonna vote to send it back.
What's different about it?
Nothing's different about it.
It was a misinterpretation of the, what is that resolution? It's right now.
Yeah, there was a question about whether we were picking up debris from the Draper House, and that is not exactly the case. Any other discussion on this one? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, 2 noes. That one passes. All right, goes back.
We'll need a second reading.
All right, so we'll have to read it.
It'll be under old business.
It'll be our business, and we'll get a second reading next time. All right. Transfer between major health categories, health department, 6,727, for a contract with the state for the Portland Clinic HVAC, equipment.
It's basically, they send money to the state, they're asking to keep the money in the county to fix the HVAC system to the transfer.
I'll make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Wait, a question. We had a question.
Is the machine debt, is that what the 6,700 is for? Is the machine needing to be replaced?
Mr. Long? No.
We have held back there, I'm not sure.
We take 361, it says replacement.
It says replace, and we took a vote. All in favor? We already took a vote. It passed. Does this need a second reading?
No, we use it to transfer.
All right.
Commissioner, on page 361, it says replacement on there.
Replacement, yeah.
All right, other items, health department, discussion of grant from Tennessee Department of Safety to purchase, does this need to happen?
Well, we don't have the amount tonight, but I would ask that you do the first reading tonight and have the second reading, because I think Hal was gonna have the money. Are you gonna,
How are we gonna take, do you have an estimate of like,
he don't have the amount.
how can we take a vote on it?
We'll vote on it, we'll just put it under old business.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just say, let's just leave this one without.
He's here, he might as well tell us when the amount is due and suspend the rules.
Was there, I mean, just in the interest of brevity here, is there anything that we can really do with this tonight?
We don't know the amount.
I would, and I'm happy to speak with you afterwards. I don't know that there's anything that's gonna break, unless somebody.
Yeah, I just want to know more about it. I don't.
It's a resolution or an estimate if you do it this way.
Right, needs to go back on the business.
Then let's just leave it, without objection, UKG health staff renewal, 3/8.
That one is because it's a payment for next year to move them into the cloud. They're telling IT that we have to pay the money up front for next year. And since it's an expenditure for next year, only county commission could approve it for the future. It's like $16 or $19. It's a small payment, but we're still
This one's from.
making sure we're following the rules. It is
1823.
Yeah. Motion to approve, second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so this is the last big one we have to deal with.
Motion approved.
Motion in a second, any discussion on this? This is the 500, but this has already been, so, I wanna hear.
Can you explain?
I'm gonna approve this, but there were some comments earlier from from citizens, and they're not without merit here. I've spoken with Mr. Ellis about this, but.
Judy talking about.
Yeah, please give us a rundown.
Talking to Toby. Judy, because she doesn't do POs for years, has let line item balances go up. He has his highway budget where he has state aid asphalt and he has regular asphalt. Regular asphalt, he has about $38,000. He continued working when he ran out of money with the understanding was he was gonna drain all his other line items, if need be, like Judy's always had, and move it up to do the asphalt, $500,000 he spent. Well, what makes more sense, if you remember the letter from the state, they're already telling you your highway fund is below 2 months balance. So what would make more sense is to actually, and financial management's already approved to pay it to the PO that was issued after the fact, if the budget's okay, is to go ahead and let us pay it toward the $3 million. That'll keep from draining his fund. Either way, it comes from tax dollars.
I'm good with this, I just have one question. How, is there anything on it's sitting in front of us that we expect for this to happen again, because I don't want it to happen.
Technically, you should have an appropriation where you spend, it says you can't go with Mr. Harden because there's not POs that's done it for years. Toby's doing the same thing. He's gonna do, and they've done it, you notice, every year. They come in like once or twice a year and they make their balances basically balanced. Toby and me were talking, it probably makes more sense if you guys don't object, because my discussion, number one, we need to be transparent. And number two, I don't believe a lot of the commissioners understood that existing costs may get posted toward the $3 million. We want to make sure everybody's aware of that. When they approved his budget, it does resolve the budget overage, but it was an expenditure before this particular appropriation, but it makes more sense to be posted here. But this is a long-standing practice that just has been going on in the highway department way before my time.
All right, go ahead. Any other discussion on this?
I have
Ms. Boyd, go ahead.
just two quick details on that. So it's a long-standing process that's been going on. Are we changing that going forward, or are we just gonna keep doing that?
Well, the thing is, we pay the bills when they get here. If there's not a budget, we can refuse to pay the bills. This is one where we could hold it, but he's got $3 million over here. Financial management said they're okay with it. My only thing is right now, we just want to be transparent with what happened. Toby was fine with that, everybody what happened. His plan was, when he talked to me, when the bills came down, to do like they've always had, if the $3 million didn't get approved, we can have all the
I mean, the reason I'm good with this is the entire purpose behind the 19 million, and then of that 19 million, the 3 million was to do this kind of thing, and it bothered me that we didn't have that appropriated in time, so I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
But it's still not the right thing.
The only other alternative,
Yeah.
What
What
he said
should we
other
do
than-
to clean this
yeah,
up?
the only
Or
other
make it easy for Toby?
the only other alternative he really had was to stop work.
Yeah.
If he
From
didn't,
my
he didn't believe it.
conversation with him, he was in the middle of road projects, we were also hitting winter time, we were trying to get
He got to stop
everything.
work.
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna do that.
So he didn't have a lot of choices.
It sounds good, but how do we clean it up so it's
Well, right now,
we're not doing this?
in your highway fund, or in the capital projects is where he's spending all his asphalt right now, so he's getting.
Yeah, I mean, what we should do is.
We'll monitor against his POs, and Toby's monitoring against his total budget. He was, kind of for a better word, hoping to get the $3 million, I think, is what
Yeah, I mean,
And he wanted to continue work, so I don't think he's doing anything.
Yeah, I think this is the right thing, but how, it just sounds like we're just gonna continue.
well, I mean, I'm telling, yeah, I mean, here's what happened.
We need to
didn't
put more
approve
money in?
The 3 million, no, we don't need, we already have it.
You already handled that, but I was talking to Toby that there's a discussion, probably Judy did that for years, Miss Harden, and I even told her that wasn't the best practice, but nobody ever really wanted to stop. At this point, it sounds like you guys want him to transfer any funds to keep his items on balance, even if you don't do POs.
Is that something we need to
I'll just
address?
talk to him tomorrow about it, or next week when I see him.
And then we need to.
And then my
approve
second question is how is our highway fund balance? You did mention that the state was talking about it, so how is
Right now, we're meeting revenue projections, they look good, except the one, if you look on the sheet, was short, we only got 1 quarter, but his gas tax looks good, we're monitoring his revenues, as I'm saying, other than this, which he paid out of the other funds, he's pretty much within budget, so, kinda like the same thing last year, we're hoping he picks up extra funds. But it's the same thing was pointed out back at the last budget, when you're making your budgets and workshops, the best practice would be anytime you finish your budget, then have about 2 months of expenditure.
So do we have 2 months right now?
You would right now, but you doesn't for the year projected. Because he's not, we watch his.
We're overburning it, but we're not.
I know, that's what I'm thinking we are.
But we did, that's why we set aside this capital, we knew that would happen.
Now, the $3 million is gonna come about what would be more helpful is it came at the first of the year, and he spent more than 3 and less out of the highway may help him out.
Any other, Ms. Boyd?
No, thank you for that
All
clarification.
right, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Any opposed?
And this is for information, because he's already got a budget. There's
okay.
no real proof with this information.
This last one? Sweat room, right? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion to adjourn.
That's the one.
All in favor? Aye, we're adjourned.
I think it needs to be more than a conversation.